Everybody, I have another Instagram live. Today is a series of lives called Eat This, Not That. And we're going to be deciphering food labels. So I'll let you guys start coming in. Hi, everybody. Hello, hello. Hi, everyone. Happy Saturday. Oh my God, I feel like Saturday could not come soon enough. Today's show is called Eat This, Not That. It's all about deciphering food labels. So there's a lot to go over. Really quickly before we start, I want to announce the winner from last week, which was I Heal Alicia. And I Heal Alicia won the Teamy Tea Talks. Hi, Spain. Hello. So up for grabs today is a food sensitivity kit worth $199. So once you're on here, invite your 3 friends, and that will be the first step in the drawing. And then once I post it to my regular feed, tag 3 people, you can be winning this kit right here. So last week, I Heal Alicia. Congratulations. Okay. Hi, Glow Up Community UK. Hey, girl. Okay, you guys. There's a lot to cover, so I'm just gonna jump in, okay? This is going to be a part of a series that I'm gonna be doing, not every week, but throughout the summer. I'm gonna be doing a series called Eat This, Not That. And so I get a lot of questions, what do I eat in a day? And I'm happy to answer those questions. But I think that it's important to know what I absolutely steer clear of. And that's kind of what we're going to be talking about today, because there's a lot of people who feel that they're eating healthy and they don't realize that they're being exposed to dangerous chemicals in our food source. So it's a little bit scary. And the manufacturers aren't really telling us. So we're going to start with this. This is called Eat This, Not That. And today is about deciphering food labels. So I've got a lot of different foods here. I've got a lot of different labels. Hi, everybody. Okay. When it comes to eating organic foods, you know, most of us know it's healthier to eat organic. I think that information has been there for a long time, but when you're in the grocery store and you're about to make that choice between organic and non-organic, first of all, sometimes it's not easy to decipher what exactly is organically grown. Right? There's a lot of different labels on stuff, and I'm going to show you exactly how to decipher that. But what's the reasoning behind it in the first place? Because I think the number one misconception that people have about produce is that you, oh, thank you so much for the badge. Oh, that was so great. Thank you so much. The number one misconception about produce is that when you get a piece of fruit or a piece of vegetable, you can just wash the pesticides off at home. And that is just simply not true. And so there's no amount of scrubbing, there's no amount of a special formula or whatever that you can put on a certain type, and we're gonna go over them, types of fruits and vegetables that will wash off the chemicals. It doesn't happen because certain plants take up those herbicides and pesticides in their root system, and it's in the flesh of what you're eating. So you can peel this, you can wipe this off, but the pesticides are inside the flesh, and every plant is different, okay? So if you go to the environmentalworkinggroup.org, they have a list of the clean 15 and the dirty dozen. So the clean 15 are those 15 fruits and vegetables that you can eat. Let me see if I have it somewhere. That you can eat without having to buy organic. So this is the clean 15. I printed it off their website. This is what's going to save you guys a little bit of money, because if you're in the grocery store and you're trying to decide between an organic avocado and a regular avocado, get the regular avocado. Save the money, because an avocado does not bring up the pesticides and chemicals into the flesh of the fruit. So there's 15 different ones that they say are safe to eat commercially farmed. Now, why is that important to try to avoid commercially farmed foods whenever possible? It's because there's so many pesticides. You know, it's not the same kind of food that our parents were eating. It's not the same kind of food by far that our grandparents were eating. And so what they're doing, especially with the GMOs, is that they've made fruits and vegetables so resistant to the herbicides and pesticides that they spray on them that the plant won't die, but all of the pests will, but we're still getting the chemicals. And so it's important to stay away, if unless it's this clean 15, it's important to stay away from factory farmed fruits and vegetables, because oftentimes there are so many pesticides and herbicides that are in the flesh of the food that cannot be washed off. And those have been attributed to from everything to infertility, hormonal issues. Girls are going through puberty way earlier than they ever have. Hygiene. They're going through puberty way earlier than they ever have before. It's associated with infertility, with cancers, with Alzheimer's disease. I mean, the list goes on and on and on in terms of how factory farmed produce is affecting our health. But it's not that it's unsafe to eat. It's just there's certain types of vegetables and fruits that are going to be healthy for you, and you can buy conventionally farmed. Okay, so we're going to go through that list. Again, this is ewg.org. They're the environmental working group, and they literally are policing when the FDA cannot spread so thin. They're literally policing our environment and helping us choose the healthiest options. So they have a list. All you have to do is subscribe to their newsletter, and you get the list of the Clean 15 as well as the Dirty Dozen, which we're going to go over in just a second. Hi, everybody. Remember, if you want to be in the drawing for the food sensitivity kit, because we are all different, you guys. We all have different bodies. Just because I'm saying eat a certain way, there might be certain things that you are sensitive to. And so this is $199. I'll put this in the mail for you. Invite your 3 friends now, and then when I post it to my feed, tag 3 more friends, you'll be in the drawing. Okay, so moving on. So I want to tell you about the Clean 15. So these are avocados. You never have to buy organic again. You do have to check this list every year, because they're always, science is moving fast, you guys. Science is moving fast, and what used to be healthy might not be healthy. You used to be able to eat stuff, you used to be able to eat an apple, and it didn't matter if it was factory farmed or if it was, conventionally farmed, or if it was organic. It just didn't matter. Now it matters. So the Clean 15 are those 15 fruits and vegetables that the Environmental Working Group deems safe to eat while it's commercially farmed. You just bring it home, wash it off, okay? So those include avocados, sweet corn. You don't need to buy organic corn. Pineapples, onions. No more organic onions this year. We'll see what the farmers start doing next year. Papayas, sweet peas, asparagus. I don't buy organic asparagus. I buy this conventionally farmed, and I wash it off at home. Honeydew melon, kiwi, cabbage, mushrooms, mangoes, sweet potatoes, watermelon, and carrots. So I have this on a little travel thing. Let's see where my little travel thing went. Here. You can print this out and keep this in your purse or in your wallet. So when you go to the supermarket, you know exactly the fruits and vegetables that you can buy commercially farmed. Does that make sense? And then these are the ones, which we're going to get to, that I would never eat unless I found them organic. So let's first go over, how do you tell if something is organic? Every food in the supermarket has a PLU number. It's a price locator lookup, PLU. If it is organic, it begins with a 9, okay? Let me show you another one. If it's organic, it begins with a 9. See the PLU number there? It begins with a 9. Now, this also has the USDA organic stamp, but this is important because oftentimes when you're at the supermarket, things are put in different bins, and they might not be labeled, or you could have a place that says organic peppers, but inside there is something that's not organic. So organic always starts with a PLU number of 9. Now, if it's not organic, it starts with a 3 or a 4. So this is a PLU number, and you can see this is 4032. So this is not organic. This is commercially farmed, which is fine because it's on the Clean 15, right? Yeah, it's not on the Clean 15 actually, but I did look and see to make sure that it's at least acceptable. So I wanted to show you guys what a non-organic, because most of my stuff is organic, I wanted to show you what a non-organic PLU number looks like, and it looks like that. It either starts with a 3 or 4. Great. So the way that I remember it is if it starts with a 9, it's fine. And if it starts with a 4, a 3 or a 4, explore more. And that's because there are 15 fruits and vegetables that are perfectly fine to shop conventionally farmed. So if it begins with a 9, it's fine. That's organic. If it begins with a 3 or 4, explore more. And that's when you would get out your little cheat sheet and make sure that you're eating something that's not going to be toxic. We had that guest on a little while ago about decreasing your toxic load. Let me see if I can find her. Oh my gosh, it's in my notes somewhere. But make sure that you check out that live for that. So that's how we can determine what's organic and what's not organic when it comes to produce. If it begins with a 9, it's fine, it's organic. If it begins with a 3 or 4, explore more. And so then we get into the Dirty Dozen. Now these are the 12 fruits and vegetables that the Environmental Working Group is deeming so toxic that they advise you not to eat them unless you can find them organically grown. So strawberries, spinach, kale or collard greens, peaches, pears, nectarines, apples, grapes, green beans, blueberries, cherries, and bell peppers, or any kind of hot pepper really. If you can't find these organically grown, then you're doing more harm than good to your body. Does that make sense? So you think you're doing something healthy by eating a fruit or vegetable, but if you're eating a strawberry or a blueberry that is not organically grown, you are consuming pesticides that are damaging your health. So these are, sorry, somebody's at my door. These are the 12 fruits and vegetables, the Dirty Dozen, that I absolutely try to avoid at all costs unless I can find them organic. Okay, let's see if there's any questions. Is everybody still with me here? Hi, Indonesia. Hello, hello. How do you clean your fruits and vegetables? Well, because I buy organic, I don't do anything special with them. I wash them. I've got a little strainer back there, and I put them right on the strainer and wash them. Sometimes I'll soak the berries and stuff. But if I'm eating organic, I don't, you just wash them enough to where you're not going to get E. coli from anything. But I'm not scrubbing off any of the pesticides because for the most part, I'm buying stuff that's organic, unless it's on that Clean 15. And if somebody has some sort of device or some sort of way that they like to wash off their fruits and vegetables, please put it in the comments so everybody can kind of learn. I tagged 3 people in the comments. I hope that works with the drawing. Perfect. That works great. That works great. Okay. Let's see if there's anything else that I wanted to talk about that. Let's talk about some of the pros about eating organic. So not only is it better for us because we're not having that toxic load, we're lightening that toxic load, which contributes to all kinds of age-related diseases, but it's also better for the earth because those organic farmers are not using those chemicals. What they're doing is they're rotating the crops. So crop rotation is giving the food more nutrients, and it's making our food, organic food, is more nutrient dense. And they've done yes, that's a great one. White vinegar and water is a great one to use. But in rotating the crops like that, we're having more nutrient-rich soil, which contributes to more nutrient-dense fruits and vegetables. So is organic better for you in terms of chemicals? Absolutely. Is organic food better for you in terms of how much nutrients they have in it? Absolutely. Absolutely. So you're getting the most nutrient dense when you're doing it that way. Okay. I just want to tell you one little thing about thyroid. they've found that the pesticides, particularly Roundup, which is still used by Monsanto, still all in every single processed food, unless it says organic, they're sprayed with pesticides. But it's, it's really quite scary in that some of these big companies that make the chemicals that are going on our foods are also the owners now of giant corporations producing foods. And for those, the FDA is like, there's very strict guidelines for being organic. There are very, very loose guidelines in terms of processed food. So when you're grabbing a box of cereal, if there's not the word organic on it, chances are most cereal is owned by Monsanto, which is the producer of Roundup. And chances are you are getting a toxic overload with those kind of processed foods that you might not have really thought was happening. In fact, you can have cereals and stuff that are like full of fiber and full of bran and this much protein, which don't get me started on that, this much protein, but unless they're organic, you're getting tons and tons of chemicals. And the only way that the FDA deems them safe is by the manufacturer self-reporting that those things are safe. I don't know you guys, but I think that's so fucked up. That's not keeping us healthy. So we want to make sure that we're trying to get organic whenever possible. I want to tell you a little story, a personal story. I grew up on a farm in a time when there was crop dusting. So we had planes flying, those low flying planes that would spray the crops, and we were surrounded. So we had fields on the opposite side. I had an almond orchard on the left. We had crop rotations that were happening all around us, but there was still, they were using, herbicides and pesticides and spraying them from these airplanes. Terrifying. I moved off that farm when I was 15 and moved in with my dad, who I consider saved me from the life of being on a farm. I never felt like I fit in there at all. So I moved in with my dad and away from the farm. My cousins, there were 5 of us and 5 of my cousins, and my cousins lived in the middle of almond orchards. And every single one of my cousins has some sort of hormonal issue with their thyroid. And so the thyroid is that master gland that helps with the metabolism of every single organ. I'm hypothyroid. It does not run in my family, but every single one of my cousins who lived and grew up on that farm had infertility problems, had big cysts in their ovaries, had pituitary issue. All of them are hypothyroid. They're all on medication. And it's really interesting because when I look at my aunt and my uncle, neither one of them had thyroid disorders in their genetic past, but both of them, my uncle, thyroid issues, my aunt, thyroid issues, and all 5 of their children, thyroid issues, infertility issues, cysts in the ovaries. So this just gives you a more drastic picture, because that's somebody who's living in an environment where they're surrounded by farmland where Roundup is used, okay? That doesn't mean that a lifetime of eating peppers that are not, organic is not going to affect your health. It's absolutely going to affect your health. With my cousins and my aunt's side, that family, that's the worst case scenario, in that, it's very obvious because they used Roundup in those fields. It's very obvious to me what it can do to your health. And it was a big eye opener. I want to say when I started studying health, I think in my mid-20s, that organic was the way. Anytime you can lighten that toxic load, you're going to live a lot longer. You're going to look a lot better, because when you have that toxic load of pesticides and herbicides, it causes inflammation in the body. So not only thinking about in terms of cancer and hormonal disruptors and imbalances, but also thinking about just weight gain. If you consume only conventionally farmed agriculture, it causes inflammation in your body, which causes it addresses weight gain. It's in that same kind of lane. So all of those things are very tied. And, you know, if we are optimally healthy inside, you know, eating organic is one of those ways. It shines through your skin as well. So all of this, the outside in, inside out, it's all very much tied together. But age-related diseases, hormonal diseases, it's all very much tied to the pesticides and herbicides in our food. So remember, just as a recap, you want to know for sure that your fruit or vegetable is organic. It all comes with a PLU. Every produce has a PLU number. If it begins with a 9, it's fine. If it begins with a 9, it's fine. That's organic. And this pepper, by the way, if you can't find a pepper that's organically grown, you're doing more harm to your body than good. So you want to make sure it's organically grown. And I'm going to get to a way that we can make sure that that's the case. Again, 9, it begins with a 9. If you're looking for non-organic, which I would only get if you brought this to the grocery store with you and you brought the Clean 15 guide with you, the only way that I would buy non-organic is if it's on that Clean 15 guide, and that has a PLU number that begins with a 3 or a 4. So if it begins with a 3 or a 4, I say explore more, because you could potentially be buying this commercially farmed and save yourself some money. So when we're at the grocery store and we're making that choice between organic and non-organic, what is the thing that holds people back? It's the price. It's so much more expensive, right? It is. And groceries are going up, you guys. The price of groceries, holy shit, right? Well, the price of everything, but the price of groceries are going up. So how do we still keep ourselves optimally healthy and be able to eat organic on a budget? And by the way, there's like the whole, you know, food deserts where there are mass amounts of people in the United States who don't have access to organic food. Or fruits and vegetables for that matter. So if you're like in a place where it's like, wow, you finally get to see a strawberry, and you're thinking, I want to buy this strawberry, I'm going to teach you a different way to do it, because you don't want to buy this commercially farmed. I know, I'm sorry, but you don't. You don't want to buy it commercially farmed. You're just setting yourself up for health problems in the future. And it's sad, but that's the reality, you guys. And that's just the reality. So there are ways to do it. So one of the things that you can do is, well, and also I wanted to say, this is going to be more expensive, obviously, to buy organic, but you can either pay the organic farmer now, or you can pay the doctor later, right? There's that saying, you can pay the farmer now or the doctor later. Either way, you got to pay. And I say, pay the farmer. Never eat non-organic strawberries. Never eat non-organic blueberries. Pass that up. So if you can have any sort of control over it, when you're in a restaurant, you're looking for organic, right? Don't eat a non-organic blueberry or put those in a smoothie. There are so many pesticides on there, and they are on the dirty dozen. The thing that really pisses me off, and I can't hold back on this because my mom lives in the middle of grapevines. They still use grapes, raisins, red wine, lots of pesticides. Lots of pesticides. If you're not drinking organic red wine, if you're a wine drinker, please DM me the word wine so that I can at least give you a wine company that sources all of their stuff organically in small batches, okay? I don't drink anymore, you guys. I gave up alcohol, and I really, honestly, one of the best health decisions I think I've ever made, because I feel fantastic. But if you are somebody that loves wine, red or white wine, DM me the word wine, and I'll at least point you in that direction, because sometimes organic wine is hard to find, but I would not drink wine unless it's organic, okay? So grapes are one of the most highly sprayed fruits out there. So not only is it like 15 different chemicals on grapes, but there's also mold prevention. There's a lot of different like antifungal stuff. There's a lot of different stuff that goes on grapes. And guess what kids love the most? Grapes. right? Don't we see grapes everywhere? Dry farm wines, that's exactly right. Dry farms, right. Yeah, I'm not drinking now. Oh, what am I drinking now? Everybody asks about my coffee. So I've been intermittent fasting for 30 years. I don't normally eat until about 1 p.m., depending on how late I ate the day before. But I break my fast with a mushroom coffee, because if my brain is already doing autophagy, right? If I am doing that cellular cleanup because I've had a 16-hour fast, the first thing I want to put in there is something that's good for my brain. So this is a mushroom coffee. It's here. It's by Rise. I did talk to the company because so many people have asked me about this. I did talk to the company. So if you want a discount on this, just DM me mushroom or coffee and I'll send you the link for that. Yeah, I don't even know if I signed the contracts, but I do know that I do have a link for that for you guys. So that's how I break my fast. And yeah, it's organic, of course. Okay, so how can we do this on a budget? How can we still shop organic and make sure that we're getting all of our nutrient-dense colors of the rainbow in on a budget? Because the price of food is going through the ceiling. Okay, you got to use your freezer, you guys. You got to use your freezer, okay? So you can shop locally. There's a couple different ways. You can go to localharvest.org. If you want to find a farm near you, go to localharvest.org. Put in your zip code and they will find you. Corn does not have the highest pesticides. Corn right now, it might have in the past, you guys. That's why you have to stay, like every year I'll go on ewg.org, because it changes. It changes depending on what are the commercial farmers using, what new bugs do they have, what new predators, what new things are eating this. It changes. Our environment changes. What eats our food changes. Therefore, the way that the farmers commercially farm changes. Right now, corn is actually on the clean 15. See it right here? That means it's the EWG, which is like the policeman of all of this stuff. When the FDA, oftentimes the FDA actually takes some of its cues from the Environmental Working Group. But when you buy something like this, you just have to wash it off. So this is okay. GMOs are a whole different ballgame, you guys, because we in America used to have to put on a label if something was genetically modified, and it would start with an 8. That's how you knew it was genetically modified. So if for example, if this melon which is non-organic, but if this melon was genetically modified, they used to have to put an 8 for and all of that, right? 84503. America did away with that. European Union has not. But America did away with that. And so in order to get this melon and know if it's genetically modified is pretty hard to do right now, because it's optional if manufacturers want to use that 8. And I'm not 100% completely against GMOs. It depends. If the plant, if they're taking the seeds and genetically modifying them in such a way that they can be drought resistant, that's a good thing. If they're genetically modifying them so that they're more nutritious, that's a good thing. And if they're genetically modifying them so that they're more capable of being organically farmed without the pesticides, so if they change a little bit of something in a fruit or a vegetable where all of a sudden a certain bug doesn't want it, we're getting more access to cheaper organic foods, that's a good thing. But there's a lot of bad stuff too, because Monsanto's, who basically cornered the market on genetically modified seeds, makes them resistant to spraying the pesticides. So that's pretty much, it just is kind of dependent. Okay, so we are gonna go and figure out how do we then buy organic on a budget. You can go to that localharvest.org, get to know your farmer, ask them how are they growing their foods. You can go to farmers markets, which sometimes are not certified organic, it costs money to get that stamp, right? It's like, I want to say over a couple $1,000s for a farmer to get the crop, looked at by somebody who certifies it for organic. So it's more expensive because they're having to certify it. So if you shop at a farmer's market, sometimes you're not going to get that certification, but you need to talk to the farmer and say, tell me about your farming. Was this organic? Was this organically shown? And then that way the price comes down a little bit, but it's still organic. So another way you can do that is if you find a farm near you or you shop your farmer's market, to use your freezer. So shop local, shop in season, and use your freezer. And then another way is you can learn to cook at home, because you're going to have more organic and more control over what you're putting in your body if you're eating at home rather than eating out all the time. There's no way that there's anything organic in a fast food restaurant. I dare somebody to find it. I've never seen it on a menu. Of course, I don't eat fast food, but really, like, all of that is just pesticide ridden. Sorry, but it's true. It's totally true. Okay, so another way is to grow your own food. If you know, for example, I eat peppers every single day. And peppers, we know, need to be organic because they're on the dirty dozen. And I eat these every single day. I might want to look into, how do I grow them at home? And how do I, you can have like just a pot somewhere with peppers in it, if that's something that's like something that is in your diet all the time. So that's also a way to save money. You can also, go to the ewg.org and get their little printout of the Clean 15, and you don't need to buy these organically grown. You can buy these commercially farmed. So, okay, that helps a little bit. So let's move on. I think I can get it in. I want to do labels on meat. And you know what? I didn't buy any meat because I didn't want it. So I wanted to just go over that real quick. So to all my vegan friends out there, I'm sorry, but I need to talk about it because it's very misleading. It's very misleading. And I've got all of the labels that would normally go on meat packaging, and so I want to go through them. For those people that don't eat meat, or like me, I microdose my meat. I eat very small amounts of meat. I'm not completely vegan. I eat whole foods and I microdose my meat. So there are times when my body calls on me to eat meat. And if I'm going to eat meat, I want to know exactly where I'm getting it from and exactly what that animal has had. So when we're talking about, people making that choices, there's many different, I got some doubts on nutrition. Okay. Well, you can say them here. Let's hear them. Okay. So health reasons people switch to vegan, the environment, all of that stuff, and the humane treatment of animals. So that said, I grew up on a small ranch. We raised our own beef for consumption, not for sale, but it was for our own family. So we knew exactly what our cows ate. And so, although I've had months and sometimes even years of being vegan, there are moments where I'm cooking for my family and I think like, I'm going to have a little piece of meat. Or, a normal piece of meat is like the size of your palm. I'll have like half of that. So I've really kind of reduced my meat intake. And my hair is looking crazy today. It's all this new hair growth. You guys, if you didn't see that live that I did on hair growth, holy crap. I'm like, I can't even control it right now. So I apologize. But if you're one of those people that you're like, okay, I don't like the way it's ethically, the ethical part of eating meat is something that I want to make sure that I know where that meat is coming from. You want to cut down your meat. You could do like a Meatless Monday. You can also just microdose your meat like I do. But we want to go through all of these labels. So when a label says, you'll see this on meat packaging, right? It'll say antibiotic free. So this means that there's no antibiotics. So it was raised without antibiotics in its entire lifetime. Okay? So this animal never got sick. When it says no hormones added, it looks like this on your meat packaging. And this is like they've never used growth hormones. So could this animal have used growth hormones that could be a hormone disruptor? Absolutely. If this is the only one that's on the package, this could be inhumanely raised. It could have growth hormones in it. The only thing is it didn't get sick. We don't know what happened with this animal, but when somebody sees this label, they're more likely to buy it. So sometimes these labels are put up there by themselves, right? Okay, no hormones added. This is no growth hormones. Does it mean that the animal didn't get sick? It doesn't. It just means that no hormones were given to this animal to speed up its growth. Grain-fed. Oh my God, you guys. Grain-fed is terrible. And the reason why it's terrible is this is a factory farmed animal. It's going to be juicy. That's for sure, because they're fattening it up with grain. If you think that carbs fatten us up, does the same thing to a cow. And a cow is not supposed to be eating grain. A cow is supposed to be eating grass, which is why when you've got factory farms, they need antibiotics, they need hormones, they need all of this stuff because they're pretty much sick. They're eating stuff that their bodies is not intended to eat. So a factory farmed piece of beef usually has been sick several times in its life, so it's had antibiotics and it's had growth hormones. Ugh, terrible. Okay. And also you want to make sure that the feed, if this says grain fed, it could be as well that some animals in factory farms are given sick cows ground up, put into the grain. So grain fed, at least it's eating something that is vegetarian. It's still in the same field, right? But still. Okay, now we're moving up. We're going to grass-fed. Okay, so grass-fed, these animals were fed grass, their natural diet, rather than grains. They're more, so this doesn't only mean grass-fed. There's a lot of other stuff that goes into this, okay? So it's more humane, they're leaner, they're lower in fat and calories, and they're more nutrient dense because it's eating what it's supposed to be eating. I didn't explore that before, thanks. Okay, so yes, so this says more than just what the animal ate. And what it says is that it's more nutrient dense. There's no synthetic hormones that promote growth. There's no antibiotics to prevent diseases. They only use antibiotics to treat diseases. So if you're in a factory farm, preemptively, they give antibiotics. They give growth hormones. If it's 100% grass-fed, they do not give growth hormones, and they only give antibiotics if this animal gets sick. More humanely raised, okay? It's still not certified organic, but if this animal gets sick, they give it antibiotics. It's still grass-fed, no growth hormones, more nutrient dense. This is what you're looking for, you guys. This is one of the ones that you're looking for, okay? So a lot of times what happens if an animal is being raised organic, in an organic way, which I'm going to go over pretty soon here, if it's raised in an organic way, but the animal happens to get sick, so it's organic, it's grass-fed, it's in the pasture, all of that stuff, because all of that stuff is part of being organic, I'm going to get to it, then it could just have this label on it. And then when looking at this label, you think, okay, I know there was no growth hormones, but it could have been given antibiotics. It probably got sick, and it pushed it off of that organic stamp. Okay, moving on. Okay, pasture raised. So when you look at pasture raised, what this means, it refers to basically eggs, poultry, or meat that's raised outside. Animals are raised on a pasture where they're able to eat like what they're supposed to eat. So grass and worms and seeds and all of that. Pasture raised has to do with that. So chickens will eat small insects and worms. So that's more of what they're supposed to eat. And it's more of a traditional farming technique that allows animals to be raised in a more humane way, okay? So this isn't cage-free. We're going to get to that. This is pasture raised. And you'll notice when you break open a yolk, this is what I use. When you notice when you break open a yolk, the yolk is much darker than a yolk from conventional farming. Much darker. And that means it's more nutrient dense. Okay, so that's pasture raised. They're happier animals. Cows behave like cows when they can move around freely. The labeling is similar to grass-fed, but it's more clearly indicates that the animal was raised outdoors. So you can still have grass-fed and not have as much room as what is technically pasture-raised. Hope that makes sense. Both of those are better choices though. Okay, so when we're looking at free range or free roaming, this is defined by the USDA for eggs and poultry. Farmers allow access to the outdoors so they can engage in natural behaviors, but it does not mean cruelty-free. It does not mean antibiotic-free. It doesn't. It means that the animal may have spent the majority of the time outdoors. For example, it's often farmers keep the feed indoors, so the chickens spend most of the time indoors because that's where their feed is, but they may have access to a small pile of dirt outside. Not great, okay? Let's go to cage-free now. This is the absolute worst. This is the worst. And you think that you're doing something good, but it's not. And the reason is because the birds are raised without cages. What this doesn't say is that oftentimes when you see those big white buildings, right, with the roof on them, when I go home, I'll pass by these big white buildings. That is no cages, but it's full of chickens on growth hormones, on antibiotics. You've seen the documentaries where they're growing the chicken breasts so big that the animal can't walk. Cage-free is not great, you guys. It's really, really terrible. So they're raised without cages. They're indoors. They're overcrowded. They're mostly on hormones and antibiotics. They're not humanely raised. It's terrible. Don't buy cage-free. Okay. Now we get to organic. This is what you guys want whenever you can. I know it's so sad. It's just heartbreaking. I watch all of those documentaries and it's heartbreaking. This is what you want, whether it's on your fruits or your vegetables or whatever. This is what you want. And because it's so strict, it takes so much to be stamped organic. I mean, you could have, this is for the fruits and vegetables. Yes. So stamped organic. You could have an animal that has been organically raised, so it's humanely treated. It's no pesticide. No antibiotics, no growth hormones, and that animal gets sick. They'll often put this on it. You see the difference? So this one might have been a sick cow. This one made it through its whole lifespan without getting sick. That's certified organic. What's your min for a 25-year-old? For everything I'm saying. 25, you're never too young to start thinking about getting old because it changes your health span. If you're 25 and you're on this channel, congratulations, because it's going to change your life. It will increase that health span, which is the number of healthy years on the planet free of disability and hopefully pain and being able to function right up to the end. We're expanding that health span. 25 is a great age. That's when I started. That's when I really started looking at my life and thinking, what do I want to be like when I get old? If we're lucky enough, we're all going to be wrinkled old ladies or men. We're all going to be. I'm 55. We're all going to be that old if we're lucky, right? But how do you want that to look like in your life? Starts with what you put in your body. Starts with what you put in your body. Okay? So now we're on organic. This is super strict rules, you guys. Super strict rules. Okay, organic it's outdoor access and pastures for livestock. So they actually are pastures. No antibiotics or hormone use ever in its life. No antibiotics, no hormone use. Remember, the hormones affect our hormones. We're eating stuff that's on hormones. It's a hormone disruptor for us, which is thyroid issues, which is infertility. It's a lot. It's just a lot. There's a lot going on when we're pumping our animals with hormones and then we're ingesting that. Okay. So very strict, 100% organic feed. So an animal that's certified organic, they can't eat grass that's been sprayed with pesticides. They're eating grass and feed that is organic of nature. So it's right through the food chain because whatever that animal takes up, it's then coming into us. A strict vegan organic, 33 years strong. Okay, great, fantastic. Vegan works for some people. It doesn't work for everybody, but it's all a personal choice based on, the whole humanely raised and all of that stuff, the ethical part about it, whether you're saving the planet. There's a lot that has to do with vegan. For me personally, I microdose my meat because I do cook for my family, but also I feel better with little tiny small amounts of meat. That's why I want to know, where the hell is it coming from, right? So this is super important. So to be certified organic, it costs money for the farmer to get this stamp. But we know for a fact that it's 100% organic feed, no antibiotics or hormones ever, outdoor access and pastures for livestock. They keep a strict record, and the EU even goes any further, which means the EU, when something is certified organic in the US, it's also certified organic in Europe. It's like this thing that happened, 12 years ago or so. And whatever is certified organic in the EU is certified organic here. So we have made this kind of partnership so that everybody's got each other's back because there's so many different products that are being shipped overseas. The EU goes a little bit further though, and they say that the food for these organic animals need to be produced on that farm, or at least locally sourced. We don't say that, but the food does have to be organic. So the EU, good on you, because you just went a little bit further than we did. So when you get this, that's enough for the organic. I hope that that's good. This, no artificial flavors, colors, or preservatives. It's not necessarily organic. Doesn't mean it's humanely raised or free of pesticides. So these are people just trying to stick something on a packaging for you to think that it's healthier. This doesn't mean anything. It doesn't really mean anything. Okay, sorry. As you can tell, this really kind of pisses me off. Okay, when you see something fair trade like this, fair trade is the farmers and the workers, usually in developing countries, receive a fair wage and work as acceptable conditions while growing and packaging the products. So although this is great for the workers, this doesn't necessarily, and it's good for your heart to know that, people who are growing our food are humanely treated as well. So that saying, it doesn't necessarily mean that the product that you're consuming is good for you. It could be factory farmed, it could be terrible. Okay, next we have certified humane. We're getting close to guys. We have certified humane, and this still allow practices like beak trimming of chicken. Beak trimming. So certified humane refers to meat and poultry produced where the animals are treated kindly, given comfortable living conditions, and are engaged. Certified humane. Yeah, certified humane. It still allows. So they are allowed to, engage in behaviors that are what a chicken normally would do or what a cow normally would do. So they could graze, they could get outside a little bit, but it still is not. It's not restricting beak trimming. So you really got to know where your food is coming from. And that brings me to get to know your farmer, right? If you go to that site, which was localharvest.com, you can get to know the farmer that's close to you, and you can ask them about how their meat or how their produce was raised. And then we can get into the GMO, non-GMO. They're genetically modified. And GMOs are plants or animals that are genetically engineered with DNA from bacteria, viruses, or other plants or animals. So the product is non-GMO. It's not in its original DNA state, and sometimes that's great, and sometimes that's really bad. So that just kind of depends. Okay, let me see if there's anything else. Oh, you guys, I told you about blueberries, right? If you cannot find an organic blueberry, these are one of the ones that's on the Dirty Dozen. And I love blueberries. Blueberries are so good for you, but you guys, you don't want to eat this. You don't want to eat this because you can wash the hell out of this, and the pesticides are inside the flesh. Remember, every plant is different. So one of the biggest misconceptions is that you can just wash the herbicides and pesticides off. You can wash those chemicals off, and I'm telling you, you can't. It depends on the root system, and if it brings it up through the roots, and if you're actually getting those deposits of chemicals in the flesh that we're actually eating. Okay, so you can go to environmentalworkinggroup.org, EWG.org, and you can get your list of the Clean 15 or the Dirty Dozen. It's a free list. You print it out, and that's pretty much it. So this is going to be a series that I'm going to do on multiple Saturdays. I don't know about next Saturday. I might give you guys a little bit of a break. But on multiple Saturdays, I'll be doing this series called Eat This, Not That. And sometimes it will be on things like this, and sometimes it'll be on carbs. Like, can you still eat carbs? Like, what's a good carb to eat? How does that affect you? And so that is one of the things that I'm going to be doing on a recurring basis, because there's so many questions about nutrition and what I eat. But in addition, you guys, nutrition is a moving target. It's a moving target. And if you don't think so, start thinking back on the Jenny Craigs and Weight Watchers of the world, and about the low fat, no fat craze that we were on. When science is moving up and moving forward and uncovering new things as a health coach, that's my job. So this live that we did, there's going to be other things that they're coming out with. They're now, because there's so many packaged stuff, they're now coming up with a longer PLU number on stuff that's packaged like this. And so when that stuff starts showing up, you bet your ass I'm going to talk about it here, because I want to make sure that you guys are really striving for optimal health, and you know what you're putting in your body. Okay, is there any questions at all? Is there any questions? Anybody? Make sure you tag your 3 people, and you'll be in the drawing for the food sensitivity kit. And we already had a winner from this one. Let me see if I can find her real quick. I hope she's on here. I Heal Alicia, you won the tea talks, the colon cleanse and the skinny tea, you won that. So tomorrow, you guys, I'm happy to learn some stuff about food. I'm so glad you guys learned something. Tomorrow I'm microneedling again. So Saturdays are going to be so much more informational. If it just said organic and no code, is that fine? Yes, if it says organic, like see this one, the blueberries, they're coming up with these packaged foods. You'll see these numbers right on the produce. You see that 9? Let me see if I can get it in focus. See the 9 that starts there? You'll find this right on produce. But because there's so many packaged foods that are coming in, that if it says organic on here, this is safe. A grocery store is not going to put this on the shelf if it's not true. But this is what you're looking for. If you find this little tag right here, that's what you want. Yeah, they also added non-GMO, but see, they did this just for our benefit, because certified organic is already non-GMO. All they needed was this, right? But they put non-GMO because there's a lot of, do you know the best place to buy beef? Oh my gosh, what was the name of that place I used to use? Butcher Block? No. I'm gonna have to think about that. Because there are some online places that do completely organic and grass-fed that deliver to your house. They come in a big freezer, and I used to do that. I think it was Butcher's. It's right when I get off of here, it's gonna come to me. Dang it. Okay, anything else, you guys? Tomorrow at 11, I'm going to be doing, I'm going to be in Palm Springs, but I'm going to be microneedling, I think with my friend, which will be interesting. And remember that those Sunday lives end up going to my subscribers. So if you haven't subscribed, Butcher Box, that's it. I'm like, is it Butcher Block? That doesn't sound right. Butcher Box is one of those companies that it's humanely raised, and you can, I don't have any affiliation with them, but you can go on gosh, what was it again? My brain. Butcher Box, that's it, butcherbox.com, and pick what you want, and then they will send that. We tagged 3 people where you could invite 3 people here with a little airplane right there. And then once I post this to my feed, which will be 5 minutes after I get off of here, it will post to my feed. That's where you tag 3 more people. And you guys, this is just about spreading information, right? Because do you want your friends going to the supermarket and buying something like this that's non-organic, thinking they could wash it off? No. You need to tell all your family, don't buy this unless you can buy it organic, okay? No, you don't need organic every single time, but it is a really good thing to look for. If you're on a budget, you need to find your local farmer, even though they are not certified, even though they don't necessarily have the stamp. You can ask your local farmer, how do they end up, farming their stuff, so their produce. So that's a good way to do it as well. Your farmers markets oftentimes are like that. They're not certified organic, but they farm in an organic way. So that's a way to save money. But also you can buy frozen fruits and vegetables are great because they're actually more nutrient dense sometimes than the fresh stuff because they've been frozen right at the peak of where their nutrients are. These have sat on grocery store shelves and traveled sometimes long distances. So to buy local, you don't necessarily need to buy organic if you've spoken to your farmer. Buy frozen organic or shop in season and freeze it, or you can try to grow your own stuff. So I think that's it. Let me see if there's any more questions. I have like 2 minutes. And then I'm going to see you guys tomorrow. What do you use after the dermaplane? Do you wash with water? You basically just put on more hyaluronic acid and then try to do that for a couple of hours. You can spritz it with a little bit of mineral spray, leave it for a couple of hours, and then rinse with cool water, and then don't put on anything after. This is a microneedling post-care. If you guys did not receive that microneedling protocol, DM me the word microneedling protocol and I'll get that to you. If you want my regular protocol that just tells you how I fit in all the gadgets, then DM me that. Are these lives saved in your subscription? This live is going to be saved on my main feed. So my Saturday lives are saved in my main feed. My Sunday lives, where I'm doing tutorials on microneedling or demos on radio frequency or whatever, those will be saved to my subscription, which is $4.99 a month. And you guys can always go on there and ask me a ton of questions, and then afterwards get off of there. So anyways, that's it. Okay, I'll see you guys tomorrow at 11. Have a great rest of your day.